Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, May 23rd. The time right now is 1:47 p.m. and the temperatures are at a nice 18 degrees Celsius. And I'm here in Leslieville, and this is Dagmar Avenue, just north of the intersection of Jones and Dundas. There's some neat art in front of this house. There's a lot of lovely homes in this area and nice tree-lined streets. And in this one, I'll be heading over to Leslie Street, and I'll walk south down to Queen Street, and then I'll head west along Queen Street East through Leslieville, and I'll probably end up in Riverside. So this here is Jones Avenue, and the northern boundary of Leslieville is at the rail tracks to the north of here, although you can't quite see them. And it looks like they're doing a water main replacement on Jones Avenue here. I think that sign said to expect delays until August. And that's sad, we have a ghost bike here. Douglas Crosby, 1964 to May 16, 2018, beloved husband, father, and friend. It's a sad but all too common sight in the city. And Jones Avenue, which I've covered a number of times on this channel before, runs between Danforth to the north of here at the very east end of Greektown, and it ends just south of here, probably about 5 or 6 minutes in that direction at Queen Street East. I'm going to head east a few blocks and go south down Leslie Street, which should be residential. But this here is Dundas Street East. And it feels like we didn't have much of a spring. We're kind of going straight into summer weather. Although it's still interesting seeing how differently people are dressed. You'll see shorts and a t-shirt, one person, and then thick pants and a heavy coat on someone else. This is Curzon Street. So Leslie Street coming up is kind of interesting. It used to just be one long street that went from the lake up until, I think, Eglinton. But a lot of it has disappeared over the years, and I believe it's been carved into 4 different segments. And this is Leslie here. So this segment runs from the rail tracks just to the north of here at the northern boundary of Leslieville. And it goes south all the way to the Leslie Street Spit. And that's where you'll find Tommy Thompson Park. That's really more of a residential street for the southern leg. And I think I've seen a 1-block stretch of Leslieville up in the Leaside area. and a rather industrial part. And I think that aligns straight to the north of here. And there's also a stretch north of Eglinton that runs to north of Steeles. And I think there's another segment that runs all the way up to Keswick, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of interesting that they all bear the Leslie Street name, even though none of the segments are even remotely close to being connected together. There's a St. Joseph Catholic School on the right. So Leslieville started as a small town in the 1850s, and it eventually evolved into more of a working class neighborhood, as well as an industrial center, particularly down by the lake and on Carlaw Avenue. It's interesting how at one point all these low-density homes found an apartment complex popping up around them. I guess the powers of NIMBYism weren't as strong back then. That looks to be about the 70s. I'm guessing this house here is attached to the church in some way. But in the 70s, Leslieville started showing signs of gentrification. And it started to shed that working class image, although that really intensified in the 2000s. And you'll see a lot of what I mean when I walk on Queen Street in a few minutes. It's funny, we walked by someone with a stroller, because I was just about to mention it does have a reputation of being a stroller-filled neighborhood. I don't know if that's necessarily warranted or not. But with gentrification, it's become one of the city's more desirable neighborhoods. And I think since 2005, the average house has increased in price by more than any other neighborhood in the city, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of followed a similar trajectory as the Junction neighborhood. So this is Queen Street. So Leslieville ends to the south of here at Lakeshore. And I could turn left and head east to Coxwell Avenue. That's where it ends to the east, and then you'll be in the Beaches neighborhood. Might as well cross here. We've got the sign. There's an 83 Jones bus. So that's going to Jones Avenue, where I just was. I actually tried to take the 83 bus south to where I started recording this, but they started running shuttle buses online too, and I think the bus that was scheduled to come my way ended up getting diverted. So on the app, it went from 2 minutes away to 16. So I said, screw this, and I started walking. And the Duke has been a staple of this neighborhood for quite a while, as has the Queen's Head pub across the street. There's an old TTC streetcar car house off in that direction. and an old school gas bar. So this is west on the south side of Queen Street East on a Tuesday afternoon. I think Leslieville has a population of around 22,000. Thank you, friends and family, the Leslieville community, for your thoughts. Oh, that's a nursing home. Yaya Greek Bistro. And one of the downsides of gentrifying is sort of leaving behind of people who aren't that well off. They've sort of been priced out of their own neighborhood, and even if they're under rent control or in community housing, the cost of everything around them has gone up even more so. There is Radical Road Brewery. I've been there before. Had lunch and some beer. It doesn't look like they're open, and the guy in front of me tried to go in there. And this is the south end of Jones Avenue. Oh, he just pulled an audible. Didn't go to the brewery. Let's go to Kibo Sushi House. And the last time I did a walk around here, I think was in January, and it was right after a snowfall. Well, I forgot to point out that Alexander Muir Leslieville mural over there. He penned the song "The Maple Leaf Forever." Here's a 501 Queen. All the way to Neville Park. And between Broadview and McCall, the streetcar is not running through downtown. It's jogging north up along Dundas. That's the longest streetcar line in the city. And I don't think it's continuously operated from Long Branch to Neville Park for several years now due to various construction projects. And even with the detour, I don't think it's running to Long Branch at the moment. Let me know down in the comments if you know the full story, but if it is running and you want something to do and see the city, I would say take it from end to end. Go through a nice cross section of town starting in Long Branch, right near the border of Mississauga, and I'll take you through New Toronto and Mimico, then up to the Queensway. And you'll go through Parkdale and West Queen West and the rest of Queen West, and through the east side of downtown, and then over to Riverside, Leslieville, and the beaches. It's a sightseeing tour with a number of awesome neighborhoods and sites built in. And now that the newer streetcars have air conditioning, that would be a lot more enjoyable. Wingzilla Social Wing Bar. Half-pound wing combo for $13 with a dip and a pop. Remarkable bean. One of the complaints about this neighborhood is that the streetcar can take a long time to get across town. So let's say you're living here and you're commuting into the financial district. This Queen streetcar can really sort of crawl along. Although it's nowhere near as slow as if you lived in the beaches. And with street parking and traffic on a weekend, you can really find yourself crawling along. Certainly a quiet afternoon. There's another 501. Black Rooster Decor. I bet you that place is expensive. Right next to a wine rack. And this is Pape Avenue coming up. That donut factory has me curious. There used to be a burger shop called Dangerous Dan's around here. That might have even been where it was located. And to the south of here is the studio district. And there's Revival Studios just south. I'm gonna see if I can look that up. Dangerous Dan's, Toronto. Do we have a location here? No, I don't think that was it, actually. Oh, that was at Queen and Broadview. I am way off. I was over in Riverside. I'd only been there a few times back in the early 2000s.
I would say we need a regroup. And by the way, it doesn't mean they have to come back.
That pawn shop has a lot of bikes and some e-bikes. Nothing suspicious at all about that. The streetcars seem to be moving well today, and service seems relatively frequent. This is the South Riverdale Community Health Center on the left. So while the neighborhood is Leslieville, I do believe it's classified as part of South Riverdale.
Good thing about it does mean that you're responsible for the route.
This church here goes back to 1929. And this is Carlaw, a former industrial hub. I'm gonna have to come back and do a new walk on Carlaw. Thing sounds like a go-kart. Looks like there's plans for development where that old automotive facility used to be. And this here was one of the oldest, where it still is, restaurants in the city. And I think the building was sold and it was closed a few years ago. And it was announced that it was permanently closing, only to triumphantly reopen. Reliable Fish and Chips. I've still yet to try it. But every time I walk by on a stream, people point it out. And that is a veterinary hospital. There's the Value Village, whose prices apparently have really shot up over recent years. It's a used thrift store. And we are at Logan Avenue. Oh, it's that same car. So here's a new development that I think is pretty well done. The brick kind of matches the feel of the neighborhood. Although you'll notice the tenants are Starbucks, A&W, Freshie, and Osmos. All corporate chains. And across the street, you have a convenience store. Well, that one's a chain, and then a sushi restaurant and a pub. But that's about as well as new developments come in terms of how they meet the street. And even the retail allows for nice colorful signs and some character. I think whenever we lose retail like this on the north side of the street to newer developments, the city really should take note of projects like this. I think that one was particularly well done, although it would have been nice to see a few not so big corporate chains in there. There's a Mexican restaurant, and I know someone who had their wedding in there. Well, that was before it was a Mexican restaurant. There is Jimmy Simpson Park. I mentioned earlier that Leslieville is bound by rail tracks to the north. Well, these are those rail tracks here coming up. They kind of head southwest diagonally through this portion. And once I cross those rail tracks, I'll be in Riverside, a different neighborhood altogether. There's the rec center. And we should start to see some construction here pretty soon, as this will be a station for the Ontario line. So for this eastern portion of the line, they're using a lot of the existing rail infrastructure. It's one of the few reasons to be optimistic that we might not have another Eglinton on our hands. At least in terms of a subway that is never ending and way over budget. And it is Degrassi Street. And yes, it is that Degrassi Street that the Kids of Degrassi Street was based on, although they spelled it a little different. On the show, it was all one word.
So I got on the streetcar and I went, and I had a good time.
Fresh sidewalk. I always want to check out the art over the Queen Garden Center there. This is the Ralph Thornton Center. Don't know what that is or what it does, but there is a public library branch in there. And the Opera House is coming up, one of the city's most historic performance venues. It goes back to 1909. Here it is. They've got their own bar and restaurant, the Opera House Grill. It's kind of like the Danforth Music Hall, which is pretty much exactly to the north of here, up on Danforth Avenue. I don't see a list of acts coming up there. I remember seeing a band called the Super Friends play there way back in the day. And waiting here on Queen Street with my friends after the concert for my dad to pick us up in his big van and take us back to Mississauga. That Queen streetcar will be turning north and heading up to Dundas. That's a 506 Carlton, actually. So that one has been rerouted down here as well. There's the Broadview Hotel, which is owned by the same people who own the Gladstone over on Queen Street West. It's a similar property. But maybe I want to get on this streetcar here. Let's do it. This guy gonna let me on? I'll take the next one. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this walk around Riverdale and Leslieville. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you wish to support the channel, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership down in the description. I have an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, and there is a super thanks button if you wish to say thanks that way. I'll keep the camera with me as I climb onto the streetcar, but if I fail to get on it, I guess there'll be more walk to go. But let's see here. Let me on. I'm standing at the spots. I'm gonna take this to... Oops. I did not see her leaving. My bad. But I am going to take this over to Dundas Station.
Off route.